This is Digi Style with Kyla Kirkpatrick.
Well, good morning and welcome to Digi Style. My name is Kyla Kirkpatrick, the host of Digi Style, and I'm so excited that this show is finally going live. So what can you expect on Digi Style? Well, I'm going to be asking a lot of those tough questions about how do you take your business from offline to digital transition online. I'm going to be talking to social influencers, internet marketers, web techpreneurs, bringing in some of Australia's leading specialists to be able to help you to be able to do it Digi Style. And so I'm really excited to announce our first guest on the show, Kyla Kirkpatrick, also known as the Champagne Dame and the CEO of Emperor. So Kyla, welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me. How are you?
Oh, been counting down the sleeps until this first episode, and we're finally here, and I couldn't have a better person on the show than yourself.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's such an interesting time and such an interesting climate for tech.
I know, and it feels great to actually be 1.5 metres close to someone who's been doing so much online work.
Yes, it is. It is nice to be with humans in the presence, something we took for granted for so long.
Yes. So, Kyla, you and I go way back, both from a professional point of view, but also as friends. But I'm not going to spoil your backstory. I'd love to hear. Tell us a little bit about you, where you've been, where you're at, and just as importantly, where are you going in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got quite an unusual career path. Came out of university, and quite often universities don't train you to be entrepreneurs. You are bred for big business. I did a commerce degree majoring in economics and arts degree majoring in Mandarin Chinese, and came out and went into a traditional role of banking and finance. And I stayed there for a number of years before that entrepreneurial voice in my head started to creep in, and I fell in love with the product that I specialise now, which is champagne. So
I'm just trying to get my head around finance and champagne.
Well,
the two should never mix, and
you
probably never have.
You do drink a lot of champagne in the finance industry. It's certainly an industry that can afford you the best, but a lot of people don't understand that it wasn't the idea of legitimately being able to drink champagne from 9 a.m. to 9 a.m. that drew me into this profession. It was my interest in the history and the story of champagne. And so that was 2005. I moved to Paris in 2005. One-way ticket, pulled out the safety net. There is many ways of pursuing your passion. You can go boots in cold turkey, or you can do it as your after hours play, but I was a boots in kind of girl, and that's the way I've pursued my career since. So started my life as an ambassador for the Champagne region about 15 years ago this year, actually.
Unbelievable. I'm
celebrating my 15th year this year in quite unusual terms. And then moved into a traditional business of presenting and educating in Champagne, tours in Champagne, before I decided that I couldn't scale my business and I needed to bring it into the online world, bring it into the e-com world. And then I launched Emperor Champagne. Actually, I'm just moving into my third year of business. I can't believe it.
Why has it already been 3 years? Remember the day that you launched it. I remember the months leading up to that brand, and it's been 3 years.
Yeah, I'm moving into my third year of business now. So this is really interesting. And I think that you've got that first 3 years of business, which are very precarious. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of refinement. There's a lot of trial and error, and I'm getting there. We're getting great results, and certainly it's a very interesting time for e-commerce. It's a very interesting time for tech, particularly as the world grapples with this idea of COVID. Social distancing, not being able to go to restaurants, not being able to drink champagne with anyone else. So then how does that business move into a new realm? And that's certainly been great for us. Alcohol sales are up, and
I was going to say, well, I've been contributing to that myself.
Me too.
So tell me, I'd love to hear the transition. So the Champagne Dame, which you've got a massive online following, especially in social media, doing masterclasses and running around the world and doing tours, and so you didn't really have a background in online though, right? So
Not at all.
What made you set up Emperor, and why was it that you wanted to have some kind of e-commerce to your repertoire in your brand?
Building a brand that's centered on you personally has its limitations.
Yes.
It's a nice business. It's very rewarding. You get great interaction with your customers because the brand is around you. They know you. But it's not scalable, and it's certainly not saleable. So there's no exit, and you're only as good as yesterday. So I built a business that was essentially a life raft for when that business, Champagne Dame, that centered on me, was no longer going to be as successful as what it was. Now, that hasn't happened yet. and I have two very successful businesses at the moment, so I'm often pulled and pushed between the two companies. But at the moment, obviously, I'm all eyes on the e-com business, which is soaring as a result of a change of environment, but also getting better at what we do.
So tell me a little bit more about, you're saying you're in e-commerce, you've got Emperor. What does Emperor do? Where are you positioned? How are you playing in this e-com space?
So first and foremost, we are a e-commerce platform. We are a specialist retailer in Champagne. Now, I always think that specializations in any industry are good if your market size is big enough. You know, I think be something to someone. Don't try and own the market.
Yes.
There's a lot of businesses that have every product under the sun.
Well, become a jack of all trades, master of none, right?
Well, and
the
I think
riches
that's
are in
true.
the niches.
I agree with that, and I think that that's very important in e-commerce. And we've certainly come out the gate as a specialist, and we've won on that level. You know, we are fastest delivery service in Australia. We have the packaging that beats anyone in Australia. We have the largest range in the Southern Hemisphere. And we're specialists in our field, and we moved into the online space. We have both retail sales, business to consumer and business to business Australia wide, but we also have a subscription service. So people pay a monthly fee to have a little bit of goodness, a box of champagne that's curated, delivered to their door every month, and that's an amazing part of our business.
So would you say that that's your point of difference over a traditional beverage alcohol delivery business?
I think we have quite a few points of difference, but certainly the subscription model is one of them. People are starting to do more and more of that. I'm seeing it, you know, even last night when I was shopping online, I signed up to someone's subscription box for a health product. So I like to look at what's going on in the industry and see who's doing the right things, see who's doing the wrong things, and assess what's happening in the real world. But, you know, subscription is part of our strategy, but I also think what's really important for us is the ability to tell a story and to be connected to our audience.
You're such a great storyteller, and it's really your trump card, being the Champagne Dame. You're used to telling stories. How have you incorporated that online so that you do stand out?
And I think storytelling is really important, and I think it's something that a lot of digital businesses miss, you know. And don't forget that even though you're an e-commerce business, you're still speaking to a consumer. And at the moment, you're speaking to a broader range of consumers, because we don't just have the young folk shopping online, we have all folk shopping online. You know, and some of the older generation who are not used to communicating with an e-commerce site are looking for your backstory, want to know that there's a person behind that business. And I think that's a big mistake that e-commerce businesses make.
I was going to ask you about that. What are you seeing happening? Where are the mistakes?
Well, I think the mistakes are that there shows a lack of connection, and there shows a lack of storytelling, and you don't know who you're buying from.
Yeah.
Now, that's all well and good when you're sourcing a product that you can't find anywhere else, but if you've got a plethora of choices, you're going to shop from someone that you trust, and someone that you know, and someone that feels like a business that you can connect with.
Yes.
So show a bit of personality. You know, don't be afraid to build a brand and tell a little bit of your story. So that's very important, both on your website, but also from a social media perspective, that you're not just product, you're also letting a little bit of you and a little bit of your family and a little bit of your team into the vision, so that someone, a consumer out there, will connect with you.
Oh, and you see the big brands, all of the great entrepreneurs around the world, the one thing that they all have in common is they have a personal brand that's alongside their business. You know, the likes of Mark Burris in Australia with Yellow Brick Road, you've got Richard Branson with Virgin. It's not a mistake that you're seeing these big brands. We know the CEOs, we know the head of the company, because they've built a personal brand and brought that into their business and become an ambassador.
You might get a first-time purchaser, but you probably won't get a second-time purchaser if you don't have an emotional connection with your client. Now, at Emperor Champagne, we have a 62% return rate of customer consistently. 62%.
Unbelievable.
Right? And if I'm in the warehouse, I will hand write a note to every first-time purchaser. That takes time, absolutely, but it's very important. It's connection.
Well, it's going back to the old values, isn't it? Because I think that we've automated ourselves out of giving that touch point, sometimes so automated that it does feel like a transaction, and we've got so many choices these days that it's like, you know, where is my loyalty going to go? And you writing handwritten letters, whilst you might say it's inefficient, it's manual labour, it's not automated, because no one else is doing it, it becomes a real great point of difference.
And every customer counts. You know, and some people focus on certain parts of their business, but not the whole chain end to end. How can I acquire leads? How can I convert? How can I market? How can I distribute? But you've got to look at all of those parts. But what's most important and what's central is your customer.
Yeah.
What is your relationship with your customer? How are you connecting with your customer? Now, whether you're a bricks and mortar store or whether you're an online business, you still must maintain a relationship with that customer.
So tell me, what are you doing since COVID? And we don't want to bang on about it because everyone else is, but I know yourself, I've watched you having to pivot, especially with the Champagne Dame.
Yeah.
But how are you now using online to really get in front of your target market, especially with your inaugural masterclass that you ran a couple of days ago?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things that we've done during this crisis. You know, some things have been just to support the community. We know that part of the community still has full income and part of the community doesn't. So we've been giving a bottle of champagne, a pack of champagne away every single week. So tag a friend who's doing it tough, making sure that we're supporting the community out there who can't have disposable spending income like they used to previously. But we're also pivoting within the business. So we're digitising the way that we communicate. So previously I would be out there doing champagne masterclasses in person, connecting with our audience around Australia.
Yes.
I do a lot of that. It takes a lot of time. We've moved that into the digital realm and that's been wildly successful for us. You know, we did our first virtual champagne masterclass last week.
Yes, you were saying.
5,500 people have tuned into that, which is incredible. And we've also taken the opportunity of having the business really streamlined and focused to review everything, reviewing copy, reviewing our pricing, reviewing our packaging. We've increased our hamper range, we've increased our gift card range because people can't be there for birthdays and births and significant milestones.
Yeah. So tell me, as we come to the end of our interview, what is one thing, one prediction you're seeing to really nail it and to leverage into the future?
This COVID situation will forever change the market. So it's expedited the amount of people who are shopping online. I don't think that's going to go back to bricks and mortar. I actually think that's going to continue.
Yeah.
So make sure you're connecting with your customer. Give a little heart and soul. Make sure your customer's forefront in the mind of what you're doing within the business because you really need to show a bit of personality. Customer ultimately, even if it's an e-commerce business, wants to buy from someone they like.
Exactly. So how can we find out more about the Champagne Dame and Emperor? Where can we find you?
You can find the store, emperorchampagne.com.au. I'm pretty easy to find actually, Champagne Dame. Yeah, I'm around. Yeah, so you can find me at the Champagne Dame on Instagram and the Champagne Dame on Facebook as well. So.
Yeah, so all over the internet.
No, I'm not hard to find.
Where do I find this masterclass that you did a couple of days ago? Did you record it?
It's going to be on the Facebook for the Champagne Dame page. Yes,
okay.
It is. So you can find it there.
Fantastic. And so back into the business and shipping out more champagne.
Shipping out, we're up nearly 200%. So it's
really?
Yes, it's a big time for us, and I'm making sure that I nurture all of those customers. So I see this continuing for us. It's an amazing time within our business, and
I just have to ask before we wind up because I'm really intrigued. Do you think that people are drinking more champagne because they're in lockdown, or why do you think that you're up by 200%? Is it also to do with your effectiveness as marketers as well?
Well, that's potentially true, but people aren't going to restaurants and they're still having major birthdays. So we're now seeing people upgrade their champagne choices because they're spending less money on food and they're drinking better at home. So people are drinking more, statistics are showing that, but they're also drinking better. So we've got premiumisation in the industry, and Emperor plays into the hand of that.
Interesting. And how is it affecting? I could talk about this forever with you. You're just so intriguing. So in France, where you're importing a lot of your champagnes in, how is it hitting them, and is it impacting on your distribution and your ability to bring the supplies in?
We have actually slowed down the boats, so we are relying both from importers in Australia as well as some existing stock that we had. So we had big imports late last year, which is good, which saw us through the first quarter. Things are starting to right themselves a little bit in the vineyards. People are out in the vineyards of Champagne, but there was a period of time there during the heart of, the first stages of lockdown where, things did slow down in the vineyards of France, but we've certainly got enough stock to see us through. But I'll be looking to put another boat on the water quite soon. So.
Wow. And so are these labels that are household labels that we know, or are you bringing in more of the boutique champagne?
Both. But we specialise in high quality artisanal champagnes, but we have everything from the big brands through to the smaller brands. And we're seeing purchases from $50, right to $1,000. We sold out of all of our $1,000 champagnes last week. So people are seeking high ticket items.
Interesting. So you're saying the high disposable income it's not necessarily being saved, it's being redirectionalized into upping the price that they'd pay for a bottle of champagne.
Absolutely.
Because they can justify that they're not spending it on a meal.
No international holidays, no shopping, no disposable spending. So they're making themselves feel great by entertaining at home, and that includes big ticket items such as high-end champagne.
So one last question and I'm going to let you go. I want to know about content. Are you having to educate more now though, because of some of them are labels that
Yes.
people... Okay, so what are you doing there in terms of content?
It comes down to our EDM. So really EDM with...
EDM for people... watching?
Electronic marketing, so our weekly
Electronic
newsletter
yeah.
or a bi-weekly newsletter. You know, we are more punchy information, but better information, and also social media marketing. A lot of short videos from us, getting people behind the bubble and helping them understand the products that they're purchasing.
I love that, behind the bubble. must say I'm a little bit addicted to your Insta stories, because I feel like I get a glimpse into your life, which exactly what you were talking about, that whole connection.
Well, it's pillars of content. You know, some of it's education, some of it's business, and some of it's personal. And I think it's important to show all sides when you're an entrepreneur in tech.
Thank you so much, Carla. I couldn't ask for a better person to be my first guest on the show.
Pleasure.
Hope that you come back in the future.
Love to.
I'm looking forward to having a cheers with you. Glass of
Yes.
bubbles when we get out of lockdown.
Yes.
Thanks so much for your time. We're now just going to go to a break and have our next guest on Digi Style. See you soon.